Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you brought up the banking experience. Banking is notoriously bad, and I think that's just because you have non-technologists who are bankers, and they're not technology companies at core. That's not like their core mission, and they're trying to build technology, and they just can't do that good of a job because it's not in their DNA. But if you go into crypto land, if you go into DeFi, decentralized finance, it's nightmarishly hard to use today. Like you'd have to set up your wallet, you'd have to plug it into your browser, and you'd have to go to a website and like log in with your private key and passwords and all that. But once you make it through that, and I do think they will make all of that easier, decentralized finance is way easier to use than my Schwab account or Wall Street. It's much easier for me to swap Ethereum tokens for 1 inch tokens or Bancor tokens or ETH for Bitcoin or whatever on some of these exchanges that are built by software companies or as software projects. They look gorgeous. Go on Uniswap sometime, which is sort of the poster child for a decentralized exchange where you can swap one cryptocurrency for another. Once you're logged in, the thing is a delight to use. The interface is beautiful, it's simple, you see exactly what's going on, and there's no bank software that I'm aware of that is anywhere near as good.
Oh, absolutely. Banking is just notoriously bad when it comes to interface, user experience, and all that. I mean, it crashes and it does all kinds of weird stuff. But still, nevertheless, I mean, you're paying your bills online. That's a huge. I mean, it's a leap from where it used to.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, licking stamps and envelopes, and I don't miss that at all,
Different story.
for sure.
They'll know a lot better than we do today. Thank you again, Naval. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ren. Hey, Max, you're on the
Hey,
air.
Naval. Okay, so here's interesting subject of discussion. So I think we coming up to first anniversary, first decade anniversary of Balaji famous exit lecture, and probably we may kind of give our listeners quick summary of what Balaji exit concept was. So what I'm curious, now you had a chance to see that past decade, and I think we kind of learned lots of lessons. Some of them are kind of a little bit painful lessons. So kind of governments are not as easy to escape as it sounded. Kind of crypto is moving forward, but every time kind of crypto kind of intersects the force field of established governments, sparks are always fly, and kind of we're always seeing some sort of oil on canvas, kind of mammals trying to sell meteorite to dinosaurs. So my question is, what are the hard points you think you learned over this past 10 years, kind of starting from Balaji initial concept, sort of what you think worked and will work even better, and what didn't work at all, and that probably was a dead end.
Yeah, so what Max is referring to is Balaji Srinivasan, brilliant guy. You should follow him on Twitter. I think he's at Balaji S. He was the founder of Council and CTO there, and then he was founder and CTO of Coinbase. Not founder, he was a CTO of Coinbase. And he's just done a ton of work in crypto and just a really interesting guy, one of the smartest human beings on the planet. And he had a talk about exit, which was about sort of leaving the system. And Max, I've forgotten most of it. I admit not to remembering most of it, but I'll just pick out a couple of key points. It was basically about, ways in which sovereign individuals can leave and start their own country or work remotely or live remotely, sort of exit the system. And there's a lot of different pieces to it. But I think it's worth focusing on just a few of them. The first is like physical exit. And the second is sort of digital exit, right? If you were just kind of subdivide into the two broad categories. Physical exit, which is he's basically saying the ability for people to live anywhere, to work from anywhere. Well, thanks to COVID, that materialized as more true than ever. It turned out to be a simultaneous action problem. Like we've had the technology to do remote work for quite a while, but there just was institutional unwillingness to do that. The institutions were locked down into everybody going to the office and working from the same place at the same time. And there's some good reasons for that, but a lot of this momentum left over from factory work. And so COVID broke us of that habit of commuting to unnecessary meetings, at unnecessary times. And so unnecessary commuting at unnecessary times to unnecessary meetings. And so COVID breaking us of that collective action problem and moving us into a new paradigm is a good thing for most people. I think a lot of people moved because they're like, hey, I'd rather live in the suburbs or in Utah or in a ski slope or next to my parents and work from there rather than have to go into, live in a crowded city in a small apartment and go to a job that, frankly, isn't all that pleasant when I'm sitting there. So I think that part of it turned out to be really good, but it took COVID to sort of materialize that. Then there's the part of like, I'm a sovereign individual. I can live in any nation. I can cross borders, and countries are going to bid on, attracting the best workers. That isn't happening. Governments are very, very slow. They know how to stop things and break things much more than they know how to make things. Excuse me. That said, there are some innovative visa programs that have popped up. I think Singapore has Tech Pass. Taiwan has a Gold Star visa thing to attract tech workers. There are even Caribbean islands that are doing it. New Zealand has the Edmund Hillary Fellowship, which I'm part of, to kind of try and attract people who are going to invest and build and work in New Zealand. So there are some innovative programs going on, but there's not a whole lot of it. The global nomad thing is still only within a very small technical crowd. It's not like true for most people. So I think that the physical exit as a citizen, like that's still not a real reality. Governments know how to stop people much more than they know how to attract people. And then I think there's kind of this last piece, which is digital exit. And digital exit is out there in full force. And digital exit can be about your friends. Your friend graph is portable. Your friends are on Clubhouse and Twitter. A lot of us have more virtual relationships than we used to. Obviously, not the same kind as physical relationships, but they're there. And then there's kind of crypto exit, which is exiting the financial system. And that one has worked better than I would have guessed. I would have thought by now governments would have had big crackdowns on crypto, but it seems like governments are stronger than ever, money printing is stronger than ever, but crypto is stronger than ever too. At least in Western society, governments have been taking a more hands-off approach to crypto so far. They've done some basic regulatory checks, and there was a crackdown on ICOs at the end of 2017. But in general, they've been much more permissive than I would have guessed 10 years ago. Actually, I wasn't even in crypto 10 years ago, so that's a little weird. But call it 6 or 7 years ago, I would have guessed by now that governments would have had a much more hostile position with regards to crypto. But instead, you have like large Wall Street firms buying Bitcoin. You do have governments trying to consider what it means. And decentralized finance is undergoing, DeFi is undergoing the fastest pace of innovation I've ever seen in my career. And part of that is because there's money involved, part of that is because it's global, part of that because it's a bubble, and part of it is also because that these things are composable, so they all interact with each other, so they can all build on each other. But the rate and pace at which DeFi is exploding and expanding is mind-boggling. I've never seen anything like it. 1999, there was a bubble, and we threw lots of money at the internet, and we had lots of innovation, but it was not at this speed and not this quality. Um, in 2017, a lot of money got thrown into crypto, and there was a little bit of innovation and a lot of money making and a bunch of fraud or scams. But now I see just a ridiculous pace of people trying all kinds of new things. So I think digital exit, especially of the financial system, is becoming much more of a reality with every passing day. I think it's only a short matter of time before the DeFi becomes so good at what it's doing that working with the traditional financial system is going to look antiquated and almost intolerable for anyone sophisticated.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Naval.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna bounce. It's quite late over here, and I think I've gone through a bunch of questions. So this was a fun experiment. I actually want to try this as an experiment, and the thing that I was testing was a lot of these. When I go into clubhouse rooms, with no offense to the other hosts who are here, I just find most of them pretty dull. And I have a couple of problems with them that I wanted to experiment against. Firstly, they sort of divide the room into the speakers and the non-speakers. And there's a bunch of anointed speakers sitting around, just kind of chit-chatting, right? They're not really doing anything useful. They're kind of just chit-chatting, which is fine. I mean, humans need to chat. We're chattering monkeys, so you want to connect with each other. And then the rest of the people are kind of in the great unwashed masses. They're sitting in the cheap seats, and they're sort of not allowed into the conversation. So what I wanted to try was, first, can we focus on something useful? So that's why I try to restrict it to business, and like let's talk about something concrete that can make a difference in people's lives. And the second is, can I just pick random people that I've never met, have no interaction with, and I don't follow out of the audience, and how are they going to behave? Are they going to say stupid things? And actually, every single person I pulled up today randomly who I didn't know was insightful, perceptive, didn't shill their business, asked good questions, had good thoughts, had good comments, was polite. It was absolutely fantastic. And so this to me was very heartening. It basically says that the power of Clubhouse and social media is that you can go direct. You can connect anyone to anyone. And it's amazing to me how well behaved people are on this platform. There's something about speaking with a voice to another human being and connecting with them in front of an audience that just makes everybody behave. It's literally the exact opposite of what happens on other platforms that won't be named, where it's all text-based short form communication, where you just excerpt little things that somebody said out of context and then attack them or flame them for points. It's just really interesting how changing the media format creates a completely different dynamic. So this was great. I loved just talking to random people from the crowd and everyone who came up here. Thank you so much. Everyone who I couldn't get to, I apologize. It is a bit of a lottery thing. Time is limited, but I'm definitely going to do this again. So thank you all for coming and have a great night. By the way, if anybody recorded this, feel free to stick it on YouTube and @message me on Twitter. Thank you.